I'm on my hotspot.
So funny. I came in one day and Gene Taylor, somebody named Gene Taylor.
All right, it's 3 o'clock. Time to get started. Okay.
Oh, goodness. Rocking and rolling.
We're here for a workshop on economic development. I think we have a presentation by Mr. John Schuff. Congratulations.
Be me. I'm going to introduce people. Then I'm going to go sit down. Anyway, I want to thank you all for the opportunity to learn a little bit more about economic development today. Are you trying to interrupt everything?
Yes, he is.
You can't hear, so you didn't hear what he said.
Oh, well, now, that is true.
That's a good thing.
It gets, yeah. I like
Wow,
selective
Randy.
hearing. Last workshop, we concentrated on Opportunity Park and the recent site selection process. The consultants that presented at that workshop emphasized the importance of having an economic development person on staff to prevent application elimination during the evaluation process, but also to serve as a multifaceted facilitator for our county. To help wrap our minds around that concept, we've asked Roy Baker with Opportunity Florida to come just talk to us about what an economic development director can do for us. There'll probably be good information for you to have as you go through the budget process. But anyway, Roy is currently the business development coordinator for Opportunity Florida. We have another guy, Richard Williams, who's the executive director that we think is going to be here. He's was going to be here. I don't know if he maybe got held up in Tallahassee in the legislature. But Roy has a very diverse business background, previously working for Florida Power and Light, Ryder Truck Lines, IBM, managing a restaurant in Marianna for a few years, and working as president and a mortgage broker for a mortgage brokerage company, which Ralph can relate to, in Marianna before starting with the Jackson County Development Council in 2001. Roy was the principal with the Development Council over there that brought Family Dollar to their community along with 450 jobs. So I've always had great respect for that. But anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Roy, and I'll pass out these handouts.
Good, thank you.
No, he had a meeting run long. He'll be here in
I appreciate John's introduction. He gave me a little bit more credit for Family Dollar. I was on a team of about 12 people that got Family Dollar there. Yeah, no, thank you.
This is the one on the interstate, the distribution
Yes,
center?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's 907,000 square feet on the ground, 300,000 square feet mezzanine. One of the things I like to say about it is 9 miles of conveyor belts. 9 miles. So they have a guy on staff, that's all he does is work on conveyor belts. They have another person on staff, and all he does is look at the roof, because that's a lot of roof to hold water.
Mike,
But
you could do that.
yeah. Richard is actually also not only the executive director of Opportunity Florida, he's the executive director of Capital Career Source Chipola. So he wears two hats. He's dealing with things in Tallahassee, of course, and workforce issues as you can relate to. But what I've just handed to you is different than the slide presentation, and one of the reasons for that is this morning, what was sent to me from Duke Energy was a 63-page document on economic development, and it was done by the International Economic Development Council. If that hasn't been sent to you through an email yet, you will get it. I would suggest, Commissioner Thomas has it, if you have even thumbed through it, you're going to see there's a bunch of great information in there. More than what I could cover in 2 hours probably, but it's going to give you why you want to have an economic developer. It's going to talk about having one in-house as a county department, having one external as a private nonprofit or an EDC, or even just as a consulting firm that's doing your economic development. One of the things about the economic development, though, is that was not the button I wanted. There it goes. Very simply, though, this having an economic developer shows everybody you have a true focus. Why do you want to grow? Why do you want to expand your tax base? Beyond just your residential property into industrial property, commercial property, things of that nature to spread out your tax base. You have one point of contact. If you have a company that wants to look at your area, if they're looking at Florida, if they're looking at the Southeast United States and they contact the state of Florida, you need somebody in Wakulla County that Enterprise Florida can send a prospective employer to for information, okay? And it's important. That's your focal point. That's your team leader. They can't do it all by themselves, although John wants to give me credit for it, but you cannot do it all by yourselves. It takes a team effort. It takes this body right here to want to drive forward and in economic development, to be cooperative and show that you're pro-business, pro-jobs, pro-development in your county. That one person, what you can look at right now is who in your county handles business attraction? Who handles business expansion? Who handles business retention? One of the things we're looking at west of here, where Hurricane Michael cut a swath through, is business retention, job retention. When the homes got destroyed, people up and left. And a lot of you probably saw Superintendent Husfeld from Bay County in his press conference Friday talk about laying off 600 teachers. Why is that? Because when the parents left, those in jobs, they took their school-age children. The funding for schools comes by the number of students in the schools. People don't have places to live, so job retention is important. That's one thing those counties are working on, but it's something you should have in the back of your mind. Expanding, retention, attraction of new jobs, okay? Who's marketing that community, your community out there, okay? I market the region. I get on planes and I go to Chicago, Dallas, California, New York, Atlanta. I market at trade shows. I market to site consultants. I market to direct to companies, okay? I market the region. I don't market your county by itself. An economic developer and his team would market your county, just as your tourism director markets for tourism attraction to your county, okay? Somebody's got to create your inventory. Who knows where your empty building space is? Who knows where your developable lands are? Who's interacting with those landowners that have land that could be developed? Who's interacting with, the owners of Opportunity Park, N.G. Wade? Who's that person? Right now it's a volunteer. It's a group of volunteers, okay? You need somebody to lead that core team, though. All right, I'm going to go off schedule now. If you'll turn the page. The next page that you have says ED and the tax base, economic development of the tax base. Very simply, I just touched base on that. We just talked about expanding your tax base. That's what economic development does. It's going to do it through those three things we talked about. Job retention. People retain their jobs, they get promoted, they move to bigger households, they build new homes, tax base goes up. Expansion of existing businesses. They expand their businesses, property values go up, taxes go up, income comes into the county, okay? More business sales, more personal property. We're looking at a project right now. We got a phone call from Enterprise Florida. They said there's an existing business in Northwest Florida wants to expand. They're only talking about 25 jobs. They're talking about $80 million capital investment. That's an expansion. That's not a new company. What's that relate to? Our tax collector's not here, is she? Is he? Okay. All right. That relates to some bucks in your pockets because that's equipment property that's paid every year. So that's ad valorem that you get to use for provide services. Okay. All right. Next page. This is how you play a role, your local government playing a role in economic development. Your economic development person and team works one-on-one with you. There's a lot of things that they're going to come to you. They're going to need cooperation. They're going to need to cooperate with you. You've set the policy. You've decided which direction you want to go. You may decide we don't want this type of business. We don't want that type of business. We want to foster and bring in strategic businesses because this is what we need. Certain areas in rural Florida are happy to have real estate. It drives sales tax, but they do that for the amenities for their local people, okay? One of the things you also do, the last one I like, is reducing bureaucratic roadblocks. If there's an issue, and there's an issue in Tallahassee, that's a voice that each one of you gets to pick up the phone and call because you're an elected official, you represent a county, they understand that in Tallahassee. Your representatives understand, your senator understands, okay? If there's something that's blocking you from being able to expand or retain businesses, this person's going to work with you and come to you and say, this is a problem, we need to talk to Tallahassee, okay? Next page, what does your economic development team look like? I touched on this earlier. It can be an in-house person. It can be housed with the county. It can be housed many different places. It can be a county facility, though, a county office. I spoke to Santa Rosa County. Shannon Ogletree's over there. He's been in economic development for a number of years. Santa Rosa's person is in-house. He's a county employee. He tells me that he sees a lot of interaction between the department. He sees the overall picture of what the county departments are doing because he's a county employee, okay? He's there all the time. He's on the county complex, so it's not hard for him to walk across the parking lot and meet with somebody in the planning department or meet with somebody in administration. If you go outside of a county department or a county employee, then you have an arm's length person. That can be your nonprofit board. It can be a consulting company that provides economic development for you at a fee. The thing about the outside, if you have a nonprofit EDC, then you have the capabilities of being a public-private partnership. You can have businesses join the EDC, the Economic Development Organization. Opportunity Florida is a public-private partnership. We have some state funding. We have some private partners. They are engineering firms, they're banks, they're workforce boards. We have 4 workforce boards that are members of our 10-county Opportunity Florida organization. Briefly, the next slide, this is one I talked about a little bit. When you contract out with an EDC organization, one of the things you get is you get more of a confidentiality of business activities, okay? If you're not housed in a county office, you're housed in a private building, a rented space. If you have a prospect that comes to town, they're going to visit that person. If you have a prospect come to town and they're going to visit an ED person that works in a county office, people are going to see them come and go. So your confidentiality of having somebody come in, and they want confidentiality because they don't want their competitors to know until they're ready to announce the project or the expansion, it kind of gets hidden at an off-site because it's not watched. There's not a lot of official traffic through an EDC office, okay? Comings and goings, okay? But even though that person or that board is separate and it's not a county employee, there's still a direct relationship with this board and your county administrator, okay? Those are the 6 people that are key to that nonprofit EDC functioning, okay? Because they're working hand in hand with you, directing your policies. Now, they will come to public meetings. They will present on a regular basis. Jackson County just formed a new EDC a year ago, January, okay? That EDO, Economic Development Organization, comes to the county commission about once a quarter and gives them an update on what they're working on. Now, once a quarter, every 3 months. That's not, there's a lot of time in there, but that person's going one-on-one to those county commissioners in that 3-month time period and say, I'm working on this, I'm working on that. He's going to the county administrator, sitting down and having meetings, saying, we're working on this, we've got a prospect coming, will you sit in that meeting? Why is the county administrator sitting in that meeting? Because the county administrator works for you. So then the county administrator also relates to you, hey, we met with this prospect, this, it looks good, this type of industry, this many jobs, this much capital investment, okay? So some of this is, it's just not, it's not a hands-on direct employee paid by the county. It's somebody that's a little bit separate in a nonprofit. Shannon also was pointing out to me, you know, with an EDC, there's fundraising that goes on because you have your public money and you have your private money. Okay, for the private money, there's some fundraising's got to go on. That group's got to go out and get money and raise money. They've got to go talk to the Duke Energies, the Career Source, Capital Region. They've got to talk to businesses that want to be involved in economic development. In turn, what do those businesses get? They get a seat on that board, okay? Same as you would have a seat on that board. In Jackson County, 5 county commissioners. Each one gets an appointee to sit on that board. That person reports back to their county commissioner what's going on in their economic development meetings, okay? The other thing was being a county department, you don't have that public fundraising. One of the other sides, the disadvantage of having a county employee in-house is sometimes they get distracted. And when I say they get distracted, they get pulled off to do other jobs. So they're not dedicated to economic development, okay? When you get into that document that you got emailed from the International Economic Development Council, you're going to see a lot of background on what economic development as a team has done, what to look for as a director, what to look for as a core team. Okay, there's a lot of information in that document. Okay, here's the slide we have on the board right now. Again, it points out you do have a marketing agreement if you have a nonprofit separate board. That marketing agreement's in statute by the state of Florida. It's not whether you want to have a marketing agreement, an agreement for that person or that board to represent you. It is in law. You will have that agreement. When Jackson County formed theirs, I got asked, can you go get me an agreement? What did I do? So much of my job is connecting people to people. I reached out. Bay County sent me one. Okaloosa sent me one. I took those documents, I gave them to Jackson County. I said, here's some documents. Take what you want out of them, piece it together. It's an agreement that you need to have in place, in which they do. Okay. Cost savings for a nonprofit. Some of the cost savings, you don't have to fund as much money directly from the public funds. You get your private money coming in also. You do have representation, but I talked about all the private members you could have, the banks. You could also have cities involved. Jackson County has City of Mariana, and City of Mariana puts money in as a member. So there's opportunities there. Next page I'm going to turn over is in today's handout. What does Economic Development Board do? I'm not going to go over that. It's an oversight board. It's got input. It gives direction. As you give direction to your appointee on a private board, they give direction to that economic developer, just as the paying board members from the private sector, because it's a public-private partnership. Next page is role of an EDO board. This is part of that email I sent you. Again, you look for a rounded board, different business sectors, things of that nature. Even if you do an in-house economic developer, you would also want to have an advisory board. You would want to have some business participants from the business community for input. You would also put on that advisory board your community development person who's handling the infrastructure. You might have your road superintendent on there, things of that nature, okay? Next page, advice for leaders working with prospects. Very simply, you're transparent and you keep records, but when you have a prospect, you have an existing company that wants to expand and they request confidentiality, you have to keep it. If you don't keep it, it can impact their expansion or their attraction to your area, and they'll just walk away. They'll step away from that. Where they're going to create new money in your community and new jobs, they'll step away from it. It's a factor that's extremely important. We live in rural communities, and a lot of people meet in coffee clubs in the morning, and there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of talk going around, and lots of times the talk, as it gets passed more and more and more and more, the stories get expanded and expanded. I remember the Family Dollar story. I mean, it was a monstrous building, and it was Dollar General, and it came on the radio as Dollar General, and I listened to the business news when it came on the radio, and I said, I'm not going to bother to call them and correct them because it's not been announced. And then it was announced to somebody else, and I was like, okay, that story got twisted, but it still was a story, and it came to fruition. But the next page is traits of a CEO. Obviously somebody that's experienced, somebody that can market, somebody that's pro-business, somebody that can represent your county. This is going to be the face of your county. They could be in Atlanta, they could be in Orlando, they could be in Dallas talking to a prospective company to move here. They're the face of your company. They have to know what you want, the type of business, what you're looking for new citizens, new leaders. Typically, companies are not going to move to your area and hire somebody locally to manage the facility. They'll usually bring in 2 or 3 key people, and the rest of the people they're going to hire locally. They'll hire staff engineers, some higher level people, but the person running it, they come up through the company. So you're going to want somebody on your staff that's going to represent your county and can speak one-on-one and give a good presentation to that prospect. All right. If you turn over a couple pages, there is funding in the EDC page. All right, now this is the shock, and all of y'all are sitting down. And I know some of you have seen the CBS 60 Minutes article, December 4th of, I think it was 2016. Guy in rural northeast Mississippi named Joe Max Higgins. Anybody see that? Nobody saw it. Okay. Joe Max Higgins is an economic developer from Arkansas that got hired into a 3-county region in northeast Mississippi that had lost 8,000 jobs. They lost things that everybody wants. Poultry plants, chicken yards, things like that. He was tasked with rebuilding the job population there. Again, I'm saying northeast rural Mississippi. So, they've created 6,000 jobs there. We took a bus trip there 2 years ago in May. And it was funny because we visited, our first meeting of the morning, Monday morning, was Joe Max. And they're like, wow, I saw this guy in 60 Minutes. And, you know, we listened to him speak for 2 hours. We get on a bus, we go visit one of the major employers, Steel Dynamics. Steel Dynamics creates sheet steel that's used to manufacture automobiles. Their light bill is $1.9 million a week. A week. They generate some income into the county. Okay? Joe Max basically says, gave us figures, a minimum chamber and economic development budget should be $450,000. Okay. That's a scare tactic. It doesn't have to be $450,000. Okay? He's got a public-private partnership, half of it's private, half of it's partner counties. Okay? There's some figures there that show you what his staff is. They're a mixture of chamber and economic development. He's got a staff of 8. He's got a tremendous budget that's about $1.4 million a year. They're doing wonderful things. That's not in our realm. That's not in your realm. Okay? It's just not there. So feasibly, I gave you an example here of what Jackson County does. Jackson County Board of County Commissioner funds their private economic development committee with $160,000 a year. Okay? That could staff 2 people. Right now it's only staffing 1 person. Okay? In comparison, per capita basis, a figure for Wakulla might be $106,000. Okay? Now, how much of that would be from you? How much would be from the private sector? That's a guess. That's a guess. What you put into economic development is what you can afford to. It will pay returns, trust me. It will pay returns. One of the things I wanted to point out, Opportunity Florida is a regional organization. We have 10 member counties. Wakulla is a member county. Okay? 5 counties have dedicated economic developers. 2 have chamber economic developer people. 2 have volunteers. 1 has what I call a shared county employee. Okay? They wear multiple hats in the county and do multiple jobs. Okay? Last question. Which counties are more successful in the 10? I don't have to tell you which ones are more successful. The 5 that have somebody dedicated to economic development. Okay. Last thing I sent was a project called Project Flicker. Did y'all get all 23, 24 pages of that? Commission, did you get that?
4 pages.
Okay. Well, what we sent you from our office was a request for information that we received from Enterprise Florida. It's not important that you didn't see it yet. When you do get a chance to look at it, look at the details of the answer that a prospective employer is requesting. I mean, when you get down to stuff like, okay, give me your 3 best sites of 40 acres. I'm going to invest $40 million capital investment, and I don't recall what the figure is, but create this many jobs. But they get down to things like, okay, where's your 40 acres? Tell me what the size of the water pipe is. Tell me what the water pressure is. Tell me what the natural gas pressure is. Tell me what the size of the wastewater pipe is. Tell me what the capacity is at your wastewater treatment plant. Somebody's going to have to go through, if you want to take a chance and bring that employer here, who's going to answer those questions? Who's going to go out and track them down?
Summer.
Who's that? Oh, I'm sorry.
David would do the answer off the top of his head.
I'm sorry, David. Anyway, I just wanted to give you an example of some of what you see in an RFI. Now, Trust me, they're not all like that. Some of them are as simple as, send me an aerial of a 40-acre site that has water, sewer, natural gas to the property line that's on a 4-lane road. Some of them are that simple. Then they go into, well, then they get to that extent where they want to know the size of the lines and everything. So I'm open for questions. I hope I've just shared a little bit of information because I've just given you just the tip of the iceberg. But that document from IEDC, again, there's a lot of information in there. And I apologize. I just got it this morning. I wanted to immediately pass it through. Our friends at Duke got it to us this morning. And again, it's got some great information for you to look at, and it'll help you make a decision. It's very neutral, whether it's a county office or a nonprofit outside. It's very neutral, but it gives you the pros and cons of how to do that, okay? If you have questions after today, Jessica's got my email. She doesn't have her picture on her email she sends out, but she's got my email. Please just, whatever questions you have, get them to her. They'll come to me. We'll get you answers on them, okay?
I believe Duke Energy gave a presentation to the Regional Planning Council not too long ago, and I think Opportunity Florida is on that, comes to our board meetings too. They went over a big site selection study they had done, I guess.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. We've had, because we cover 10 counties, Duke Energy did some site selection work. They want to develop those sites further. They want to develop them and have sites to market. You know, these are strategically located sites, okay? You will strategize and be able to look at targeted industries that you want in your county, okay? We've had the other counties, we had one done through Leota and Company, who did, they did a strategic sites inventory also. Victor Leota. He mentioned Duke, but Victor Leota did that strategic sites inventory also.
We worked with them some, but we never got it finished. They located several potential sites.
Right.
But we never got past the
They
potential.
just started. They just started that process. So you have the beginning stages of some other sites also. What you want to do is match them up. But Duke is a great partner. Opportunity Florida, I hate to use the word leverage, but we leverage our utility partners. You know, we're taking a bus trip to Mississippi in about 3 weeks. We're putting officials from our 10 counties to go to areas that were impacted by Katrina to see how they recovered, what their methods were to recover, okay? We'll be meeting with state, local level officials and businesses, and that's funded by Gulf Power. They gave us a grant to do that, so. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I don't have any questions. Anybody have any questions?
Your workshop.
Maybe a little bit more about the 5 counties, or which of the counties have the volunteers, which share with the chamber, which share, do you know off the top of your head? And I'm just kind of wondering how they compare as far as the size go. We've got, you know, some of these counties in your region are smaller than us and some are larger.
Yeah, so across, let's do the I-10 corridor. Gadsden has an EDC person, Beth Kirkland, and the Gadsden County Development Council subs their work or hires her firm to do that. Okay, Jackson has a development committee, so they have a private person. Washington County is Ted Everett. Ted wears 2 hats, chamber and economic development. Holmes County has a dedicated person, Raymond Thomas. Walton County is the county employee one. Okay? I think he's the county employee one. You go down to Calhoun, is a chamber, EDC person. Liberty, how many volunteers did I say, one or two?
Two.
Two. Liberty and Wakulla are the volunteers. Johnny Eubanks and Liberty, volunteers, okay? Golf is a dedicated person. So it's kind of, Commissioner, it's kind of a mix. You got some larger counties, and then you have some smaller ones that have dedicated people, you know. Franklin has, I think, a county employee also. So, and I think that's the one that's the shared one, where she does multiple duties. But again, it's one of the smaller counties.
The closest one to us would be, as far as an analogy, would be Franklin County, because all the other counties you talked about have an interstate going through them.
Yes.
We don't have.
Right.
We don't even have a four-lane road. Of course, either is Franklin County. Liberty, I think they have 231 go close to there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
in Liberty County.
Calhoun?
There's the potential for rail anyway in Liberty County.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
There is rail in Liberty County.
And,
Yes.
and Bay County has a port they're working on, so we don't have, we're a bedroom county, is what we are.
Yes.
And I'm just not really sure what kind of, Opportunity Park, I could understand recruiting people for that, certainly. But we're not gonna have a Toyota plant want to come here. We're not gonna have anything, you know, when you said send me all your 40-acre pieces that have sewer and water on a 4-lane road,
Yeah.
that'd be real easy, it'd be zero.
Yeah.
So, we just don't have, we're not set up like Tallahassee.
I
You know what I mean? We don't have interstate, again, we don't have infrastructure.
I agree. You want to find your niche. You want to find what you want and what you have. You've got assets to work with. Number one, you've got a strong household income. Why is that? Because you're a bedroom community. However, you've got a park, Opportunity Park, that you could attract what we call a back office company, a financial services company. They don't need a storefront for walk-in customers. A call center's like that. They don't need walk-in customers. They need strong, educated people or trainable people, people that have certifications that can go to work, make a good living. You know, nobody's here from Tallahassee, so I'll go ahead and say it. The best thing that can happen to you is you populate a new company down here and people quit commuting. How many people down here that drive to Tallahassee would raise their hand if they could make a similar income in Wakulla County and not have to drive? You know, that's easy. We got people across the I-10 corridor, and they use I-10 to go back and forth. Why? Because they got a better job someplace else. It's not in Jackson or Washington or even Gadsden. Okay? Find your niche, because you have a niche. There are things that you may be able to do in the marine industry.
Give me an example of some other of these rural counties. You know, I don't know how well you know our county, but well, obviously we don't have large tracts of land that would be suitable for any sort of industrial development, especially given the environmental concerns around here, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck can tell you all about it. But you know, something like a county off the interstate, what kind of businesses are they trying to attract in counties that don't have rail, ports, or interstates? Franklin County, for example, what they're the best I could.
Franklin's going to look at something that's tied to water.
Tourism. They pull in a ton of, 10 times the tourist development tax that we do, and they have a third the population we do.
So the kind of stuff they're recruiting would be hotels, stuff like that.
They can recruit that. They can also recruit back on the marine side where they may do boat manufacturers, even of a small nature. Holmes County is on the interstate, yet one of their better employers manufactures boats, and he only employs 15 people. But he's doing aluminum bass boats. And he is out, trust me, he is nowhere near a 4-lane road. He's just not near it. He's out in the country. But there's situations like that where you look for your niche and you strategize and you bring in partners like NG Wade, and you look around your business community and say, you have people that live here that had a life before they moved here in the corporate world. You tap into that knowledge and you say, what can we bring into our community? You've got experience. They also have connections probably still in the business world. You know, the funny part about GKN Aerospace down in Bay County, everybody marvels, well, they landed 130 aerospace jobs in Bay County out by the airport. And you know, the goofiest thing about that is the economic developer in Bay County's talking to her next door neighbor who just moved in. Guess who he just retired from? GKN Aerospace. And he says to her, wow, you know, this is a great place to live. I'm glad I moved here. And he says, what do you do? Well, I recruit businesses. Well, you know, GKN's looking to expand. Connections made. Doors are open. 130 jobs are showing up. That's your best advocates in your county are your existing business people and retired professional people.
What kind of businesses would you see being attractive? Or would we want to recruit for our county?
Back what I said before, I'd look at the call centers. I'd look at the back office financial services companies. I look at anybody that I could pull out of Tallahassee that's tired of the rat race.
That would be in G. Wade or in Crawfordville? Anywhere?
Anywhere. It doesn't have to be industrial.
Now, another big thing that they made that Duke Energy presentation was having your comp plan updated. Because companies, when they're coming in, they don't want to have to go into a comp plan amendment to locate a facility.
Very true. Very true.
So that's another big thing, Summer.
Washington County and Holmes County did an overlay process.
Isn't the NG Way parcel
Yeah.
already ready?
That's not the only piece of land in the county.
Yeah, but if you move beyond that park into other land, you know, he's correct. You want the comp plan up to date, and what I was saying was Washington County, Holmes County just did an overlay process so that the timeline to change land use is not as extensive as it was before. So that,
Believe it or not, you're not going to believe this, but whenever people try to change a comp plan in this county, some people get upset about it.
really,
Yeah.
Well, what we need to
That's
do,
hard to believe.
Randy, is we need to make sure we target
Exactly.
this change for where we want to have the development.
That's why I
Okay?
kept hammering on, if we're going to update the future land use map, that's the time
Let's
we
make
can.
the change and say this, because what we need to do is encourage something like NG Way south of Crawfordville.
We have a
So that
future land use.
we have the opportunity, those people that are working and living in Crawfordville, not commuting down from Tallahassee,
I think
which is,
We do have a future land use industrial. I think the only place is Barney Harrell's old place, right? By MedArt Elementary School. Is the only one in the county that's future land use industrial, as far as I know.
There's some areas over around 98 and Woodville Highway.
Okay.
Just north
I
of-
stand corrected.
Conducive with Opportunity Park.
But you're right, if there's areas that we would want to target that, when we update our future land use map, we need to make them future land use industrial, because you don't want industrial around Songbird. You know, you may want it over on,
well, we don't want to
MedArt.
have industrial and business development up close to
BMAP
Tallahassee, okay, because those people will just be commuting down from Tallahassee. So we need to have them down here in Crawfordville.
that was my point, nothing against the Opportunity Park, but it's so close to Tallahassee, the people that are going to work there probably live in Tallahassee.
Or Woodville.
But the tax revenue.
Correct.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's a big tax
And
revenue.
there's a lot of people that work for the prison, that's certainly generated a lot of jobs.
I don't want us just to be I mean, David and I have talked about this. I don't want us to be known as a bedroom community to Tallahassee. I don't want that personally. And you know, all these years that NG Wade has set up there vacant, it's a shame. I mean, that can be good for Wakulla County if we can somehow encourage business to come there. I think that's ideal, but are there other places in the county? I think we need to look at, I agree, we need to look at other places that could certainly do that. I like the idea of marine business. That's a big deal. There's a host of things that we could probably get to come here and work. it'd be nice if we could have some industry that we could put our kids to work in. And, you know, now we're kind of tooling up with the school system now to have these classes to put out welders and AC people and, you know, and all those, there's a lot of that kind of business around on the south side of Tallahassee. They're building those ringless compressors and, you know, that kind of business is good.
Well, it all works hand in hand. Your bedroom community Tallahassee, that's not a bad thing. That's a good
No,
thing.
not a
You
bad
embrace
thing.
that because that helps bring talent into our
Exactly.
community. And not that we don't have talent in there now, but it continues to bring that. But you utilize that to help bring these other industries in here. But as I said before, as I've told each one of y'all, is, you know, that the CFO or CEO is going to come in here and say, okay, where's my CFO, my primary head engineering guy, my main operations guy? I want them to live in a county. Does it have? Do we have walkable communities? Here's what these guys are coming from. They're going to see this. They're going to see parks. You say that it is all, and does it have the infrastructure that my people, that I'm on my brain people I'm going to bring in, do they want to live here?
It's a whole package.
The whole package.
That's right.
And that's what we're trying to help create, is that whole package to be able to do that. And part of that comes, that's the reason you want to be a bedroom community Tallahassee. We should embrace that and say, yeah, we are. Because then that drives all the bigger businesses down here to help support and make it attractive for those CFOs and engineers and all those folks to come into our county.
It
Right,
also
attorneys.
gives us the great labor market that we have in the county right
That's
now.
right.
Just what you were saying, how many people would rather cut out that 30 and 45-minute drive to Tallahassee if they could find a comparable job down here? They're already living down here. One of the hardest things that when we read about economic development issues out in the world today, is people not having a good labor market. Don't have good affordable housing subdivisions. We've got both of them in spades here in Wakulla County.
And we're making,
The most important considerations for somebody wanting to locate. And Randy, you made a comment a few minutes ago about we don't have interstates and that's all absolutely true. But just always got to keep in mind that St. Mark's Powder located here in Wakulla County. We don't have two-lane roads, and they aren't very good two-lane roads leading there, but they pump 10 and 12 semi-trucks in and out of there every day. They've done just fine there. It's not.
What was the
having a
original
four-lane
reason?
highway isn't something.
It's the original reason they can't.
I'd rather have a good
we're
labor
here for the stumps.
market than a.
Stumps. That's when they ground the stumps. That's what they're
I was wondering why they originally came. David says for stumps.
There was, from what I understand, the original was, they used to make the gunpowder out of lighter stumps.
Yep.
And this is a good central point between pair. That's right, and you bring the lighter stumps in.
Did they have rails again?
And then they also sit beside rail, sitting in the middle of 98, all that stuff. Yeah, so it made sense. It was mainly
Whole
the,
area, so in case if something went down.
that's right, what is that? And then there wasn't anybody here, so if it blew up, what the heck?
FEMA must not have existed at that time.
No.
Or OSHA.
One of, one of the things you asked what some of the other counties are doing, Calhoun County has Oglesby's plants. Oglesby plants. Anybody know about them? Okay. Does anybody know who in Florida?
County Blues competitor?
No, not really. Not really. They do more exotic plants. They have a clean room, white coats, things of that nature. If you go to the U.S. Patent and Trade Office and look up, just Google Oglesby, you'll be shocked how many patents that little company in Alpha has.
Is it Calhoun or another county that has the huge bee business now? Is it Calhoun?
Even.
Bee.
Yeah, it's Calhoun.
Honeybees?
I know who, yeah.
Randy.
I can't recall the name of them, but it's a national company, and yeah, they're in Calhoun. It's one of their satellite offices, and they actually have trouble finding people to work. Well, part of the reason is you may be stationed in Calhoun County and you may live there, but they'll send you to other locations in the United States at certain times of the year. So.
Well, have you seen Sunblessed Nurseries over in Opportunity Park? I mean, that's a
It's a big operation.
big operation. And they were
Across
trying to
from
expand. I'm not sure what's
CSG,
going on.
big greenhouses there by the prison.
Yeah, that's quite an operation.
What
I think
happened?
they just expanded too.
They were trying to get some of your property to expand.
Sold some more land recently.
I got a question. John, as a case study, what happened to residential elevator? Why, they didn't want to,
Well, we talked to them at one time, and a guy named Chris used to be their production manager.
Not me.
He's,
Quit pointing at me.
not another Chris,
Oh,
they just, we know him together. He'll try to get you to interact here a little bit, if I keep pointing.
It was a management decision. It was,
did anybody from here try to keep them here?
They're still here. I actually met with them
Yeah,
last week.
I know the
so-
operations are still on, but I thought they
Yeah.
had moved a lot of their operations to Georgia.
No, they
Part-
do
part of
about
it.
half of it to Cairo.
Cairo, okay.
They do all their metal work up in Cairo, and they build their boxes here in Crawfordville. When we started talking with them, they were thinking about bringing the Cairo operation back down, so we tried to get them interested in Opportunity Park, and that's kind of what got, the Opportunity Park relationship going again. I think that was before we met Rich here. But they there's just it's a family-run board of directors, and they just.
And they've got
didn't
so
make a
much
decision.
invested in that piece of property, which is really not suited. It's in a residential area, but
You're right.
that's just where they started, and they kept
You're right.
expanding, and
They bought a bigger piece of property and only zoned half of it when nobody else was there, and
I remember when Ed
Just one
Mills
of those-
told the guy, this is the last time you're gonna get to expand, and that was many
but we
years
still
ago.
like to, try to talk them into making that move. They're still, I haven't met the new person as of yet.
And another good case study be Capital Hydraulics, who moved to Gaston County.
Mhm.
Now, they're not nowhere near as big as they used to be, trust me, I like 3 or 4 people milling around there, but that would have been a good one to recruit to
Would have been.
Innovation Park.
And they're just where they moved
That
to.
Willard Sanders drives all the way from South Chopping, all the way to Gaston County to work here.
Just that 9010, the park that they moved to. 9010 is just about full now, and Gaston County is developing 2 or 3 more parks.
They actually didn't move to
Because they've been
9010.
so successful of picking businesses that are wanting to grow and frustrated with the regulations that you have to go through in Leon County.
Yep.
So they're moving over into Gadsden, and that kind of is what got us going. Well, we've got Opportunity Park there. Why aren't we at least putting a sign on it saying for sale? We haven't done that.
They actually moved over there by the
Back.
jail, Capital Hydraulics. They didn't go to 9010, they went over there by the
Or
jail.
That area, okay. But,
But 9010's been a smashing success, man. You got Caterpillar in there, DOT.
yeah, no, all those are people just about all of those are people that left Tallahassee because they needed to expand and went to 1 or 2 growth management meetings in Tallahassee and said, I surrender, I'm leaving.
But we'll never have something like that here, obviously.
But what you mentioned a few minutes ago, Dave and I have had a couple of conversations about little pieces of property around the county. We had a data mining, 2 different data mining outfits that contacted Duke, and nothing came of it, which is evidently what happens a lot of times. But they were looking for a place that could supply them with, I think, 8 megawatts of power. It's more power than Wakulla County uses, the entire county, in one building. And just think of the public utility revenue that would be generated off that. It would only have 1 or 2 employees, but it would be one of the biggest golden eggs you had. But having an economic development person on staff could help, go out and find these little places that are out away from your subdivisions and start getting them rezoned and getting them more usable.
That's the tricky part about it, though. If we change the future land use map on our side, we're kind of taking a gamble of where somebody's going to want a data mine at.
You absolutely are.
Now, the bigger tracts of land, like Chuck was saying, maybe we would look at the Medard area and we'd say, this is where we want to start trying to create, industrial areas. We could future land use industrial those. That's easy enough to do, but you can't cover every contingency.
No, you can't. And
No, but
you're not
we-
going to make every decision right.
And some people may not want their property future land use changed. They might worry their taxes are going to go up because it'd be a county instigated comp plan amendment,
Mhm.
which I don't think we've ever done one. The best way to do is update the future land use map.
One
and
little
just take it all
particular
at one
piece that
time.
we were looking at, is something that probably could be done, but there's nobody anywhere close around it. It's got floodlands around it. It happens to be on a little hill. It just happens to be there in that right spot, you know, for if somebody was interested in it. But I've seen some pieces developed just recently over off of Stone Crusher Road. A group out of Calhoun County bought some
Newport?
property.
Newport?
Down that way, yeah. But it was out of the flood zone. Nobody within, I say 5 miles. I'm sure that somebody lives closer than that. But, way out in the middle of nowhere. And those might have been sites that you might have wanted to consider. But somebody came in, bought them up, and they're developing them. They're being developed as 25-acre subdivision right now with dirt roads.
Oh, that's so
A little hunting preserve, if you will.
yeah, that's that swamp land.
Well, it's out of the flood zone.
Out of the flood zone because it's
There's
it's
wet
full
going out
out
there. Yeah, your feet's gonna get wet if you step out there. If it rained within the last week or two.
How about there's a lot of empty property in St. Mark's. Is that just,
Well, you gotta worry about, because,
gotta
FEMA
worry about
says,
hurricanes and-
try not to develop around the coast. So unfortunately, we don't have a lot of coast, but what we do have is refuge, but we do, what's private.
There is
They
a
wouldn't
bunch
build
of
St.
pieces-
Mark's Powder today where they build it today.
There is a bunch of pieces just on the south side of the bridge there, on the west side of the river, that was cut up into small lots eons ago, and is vacant.
South side
That's where
of the
that boat
bridge.
plant used to be.
Yep, that's the city of
And that
Newport.
just, I think the state owns one little strip in there, but, if you mess around on Brad Harvey's website over there, it's just an unused area. I mean, a boat building facility could go there. It's what used to be there. Just, but right now, it's not set up to do that with it, and nobody wants to come in here, and as you well made the point well, and wait 1.5 years on a comp plan process.
Exactly. That was what was
It's gotta
drilled
be
into
done
our
ahead
head.
of time, and something it's got to be something that's fairly accessible, something where they can at least see the end of the road.
And vacant properties, marketing vacant properties is a big one, like that old Geo Golf building, and that's already there, it's already rezoned. We've got. what,
There's a
20
business in it.
I know,
Yeah.
but say, it's sat abandoned for years though. But
Yeah.
you say,
Abandoned
you
for
could
a long
market, we
time.
got 10,000 square feet of, road frontage property that's vacant, and we could inventory the vacant properties. I don't know.
I think Roy would probably tell you, I think he will, that more applications come in than not that are looking for just what you said, an existing building. So they don't want to go through the risk. They want to go through the risk of developing the land and not getting it done. They don't want to go through the risk of permitting. They don't want to go through the risk of building something. Maybe somebody gets hurt. Their costs aren't controlled as well. They want, if there's the perfect ideal situation is there's a 15,000, 20, 30, 40,000 square foot building over there with 24-foot eave heights, and I know it's going to cost me X amount of dollars to pick it up. Let's make a decision, yes or no. That's the ideal. Is that correct?
There's a lot in Panasqueira.
there's a lot in Panacea, so.
But there you go, back to the V-zone again.
Yeah.
Well,
50%
and
rule.
that's where we're gonna have to be smart, in the data collection, and, we're gonna be hiring a GIS person that'll be working with Summer, but so we can get our GIS system correct, and also get it expanded to include all of the things that you're talking about, the gas, water, sewer, all water lines, all the, where the 5G internet's going to be, and all that good stuff, so that then we can start tracking it and start labeling. Because I think we're not going to have the luxury of saying we want to put it down here necessarily. We're going to say here is where the infrastructure is, and here's the logical areas for that based upon that infrastructure.
But having
So I
the
think there'll be a
future
balance of all of that.
having the future land use in place would be our
Yes,
chance to
yes.
kind of guide it.
But I would do that based upon how you got to overlay your infrastructure, because it's, what is the cost of getting infrastructure to this site versus Smith Creek?
Yeah, of course.
So, you know what I mean? Those are the things you got to weigh.
So on that 5G internet access, you heard any more on that? Because that's, to me, the most important thing for our economic.
Verizon has contacted us back again. is still bouncing around. We're continuing to work on it. It's just they're getting it out in the bigger cities, and right now they said Los Angeles and Atlanta, and I think Tallahassee's got it just finally. You know, I said Crawfordville, and they didn't say, well, we're not going to squeeze you between Minneapolis and
It's a population
Detroit.
issue.
You know what I mean? I get you, but no, at least we're in the conversation. We're in the conversation.
So it's
We're in the conversation.
Good things about Opportunity Park is that all the things, the problems you were just talking about, they're all there.
Right.
And they're in spades.
That's right.
And we need to get the sense.
That includes a fiber backbone, right?
That's correct.
Fiber optic
Yep.
already there?
Yep.
Gas.
Everything's
Right
there.
up and down here.
Yeah.
Gas from two directions. You got City of Tallahassee coming in from the west side, and you got Tico coming in from the east side.
It was interesting. We were talking to Capital Regional Hospital, Summer and I, the other day, and one of the things they asked about, we were talking about some land here for as we were talking about some type of 24/7 urgent care or emergency room, and one of the things the thing said wasn't water, sewer, and that stuff. It was internet speed.
Yeah.
I said we've got a fiber line, and so they're exploring the internet speed right now just to make sure they can send their images.
That's just about the most important pipe out there nowadays.
That's right.
I mean, the more widespread we have that, I mean, I have a friend that had a consulting job and couldn't work at home because the internet speed wouldn't allow it. So it's just,
We have a lot of that. There's a lot of that.
That's a real, we've got to come up with a solution for that. It's a real important for our county.
Jessica Smith with Waypoint Properties had a few comments she wanted to make, and then I'd like to introduce Rick Eckline. He's got something to impart.
I feel like I should have started with this because it sounds like you're already open to discussion, but I'm Jessica Smith, a realtor at Waypoint Properties here in Crawfordville. I'm here today as a volunteer member of the Wakulla Economic Development Council to support our request for a discussion regarding hiring a full-time economic development director for Wakulla County. I had the pleasure of attending the Florida Rural Economic Development Summit in February along with John Schuff, Kevin Vaughn, Rachel Pienta, and Thomas Herndon. Kevin said the first time he attended one of these conferences, he knew very little about economic development, and I was in the same boat at this summit. However, the main thought I took away from the trip was that Wakulla County was missing a link between our Economic Development Council and seeing bigger results. We think that the missing link is an economic development director. Not to discount what the volunteer council has already done, especially John, the Wakulla EDC has secured several grants which have helped us market our county in magazines like 850 and Business in Focus and develop our EDC website. In the first discussion at the summit, Dr. Jerry Parrish, who's an economist, threw out some interesting numbers. One thing he said is that 900 people a day are moving to Florida. Of course, not all of these people are moving to Wakulla County, but I know for a fact, because I'm helping people on a weekly basis find homes, that there are new people moving here from other Florida counties and other states. What?
Excuses.
Commenting on how many people are moving here.
Yeah, well, it comes
600 of the 900 are coming here.
600 of the 900?
Feels like that.
Each day? I don't know about that. I think the county's population will continue to grow because of our distance to the state capital, our beautiful beaches and forests, and more than anything, just because the population in general is growing. We hope our county is interested in diversifying our economy to expand local good-paying job opportunities for our existing and new residents. New jobs mean new housing, construction, more retail establishments, and more county revenue. Dr. Parrish also mentioned that the national average a county spends annually towards economic development is $600,000. We're not here to request $600,000 towards a full-time economic development director and their projects. However, we are requesting that some money be set aside for this position. Most of the volunteers on the EDC have full-time jobs and can't commit to putting in the attention this job requires. The county needs someone who is dedicated and committed to working full-time on marketing our county for what it can and should be. And if you have any follow-up questions, ask Roy. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you.
Richard Eckline with NG Wade is going to come up next.
Is that a whole handful of crap?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the main reasons that Richard is probably the main reason for this renewed interest from NG Wade. He's currently the vice president of NG Wade Investment Company, which is the owner of Opportunity Park. Graduated from the University of Florida in 2001. Has worked in the automotive and IT industries for 16 years before he joined NG Wade in 2017. He's worked with local and state agencies throughout his career, believes that Wakulla and Opportunity Park are ready to take the next step. David Pope is also here with him today. David is an industrial park manager for NG Wade and will be the manager that will be responsible for Opportunity Park. Like I said, Richard has brought new energy to NG Wade with regard to Opportunity Park and has a very interesting idea for you guys to consider.
Really appreciate you guys taking the time today to listen to what John and crew had to say and give me an opportunity to pitch an idea to you. Like I said, I'm with NG Wade. I've been with them for about 2 years. Mr. Sandy passed away back in November, and back in the day, 2007, 2008, a lot of effort was made in this area to develop a residential mixed-use plan, the industrial park. I just have boxes and boxes of paperwork I went through and all the money that was spent and the infrastructure and all these costs, and then nothing came of it. 2008 happened, and that hurt everybody, and we kind of pumped the brakes, and by the time I came in, nothing was really happening on the NG Wade side of the equation out in your county. My boss, Sandy Jr., has tasked me with making something happen out here. So David and I have been trying to work through this. What we thought the best method would be to support John and the Economic Development Council's desire to have a full-time economic development person here at the county level. And NG Wade, through the Economic Development Council, is willing to fund $15,000 for the first year directly through the council to you guys to fund the position, and will also match other private donations up to another $15,000. Now, everything comes with a catch, right? The catch is that I personally believe this position, time you count all the things you have to pay to have an employee, I think it's a $120,000 cost. And it's probably a number that's a little higher than you want to hear. But I think the mistake we could make is spending $50,000 or $60,000 on this position and getting no results. I think the right person for this position probably is not someone we've met yet. It's probably someone who did a really good job in a different county, is ready to go up to the next step, that will probably only be here for a year or two until they're on to a bigger and better project. And that's okay. I think that they need to accomplish a few things to add to their resume, and we can benefit from it. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, you hit it right in the middle of my peak. I
know he was right at him, getting ready to.
She's donating the next $5. So
That's right.
That's our money person too, by the way. Yeah.
Turn up the volume on YouTube.
A couple of things that were mentioned earlier I just want to touch on. When we worked with Duke in the site selection process, I followed up with them. I followed up with them hard. It's like, guys, what's the next thing I need to do? And there, we talked about some different things that NG Wade could accomplish, but they kept coming back around to two things. Number one, the GIS data. And I just heard that we're bringing someone on to solve that problem, and wow, I'm so happy to hear that. And the second thing, of course, is to have that economic development person. So, as NG Wade, we could bring in our own person and just promote the park, but I feel like the whole county needs to rise together. Because if we bring in a big employer and you guys aren't part of that equation and we're just asking for things from you, then that's not how we want it to work. I think maybe that's even the mistake we made in the past. So that's why me and David and Sandy Jr. come to you offering to support this position and hope that you guys will come up with the budget to be able to take us up on it.
What would you said you could hire your own person, right?
Yeah.
And would that cost you more than $15,000 a year?
It depends. We would probably do a consultant.
Gotcha.
So we would be paying for a portion of them. And that could work. That's certainly true, but then I feel like we would be in conflict with other people trying to develop in the county. I don't feel like I need to be competitive with others. We have all the advantages in the world. We've already spent the money on the sewer.
the water, the gas, the fiber. It's all there. The roads are there. It's all zoned. We just got done renegotiating our lease with CSG, and frankly, guys, we gave it to them because we knew that if this county lost CSG, that park would be dead for another 20 years. I mean, Duke told us you cannot lose those guys, right? So, I mean, I looked it over. It's like, okay, whatever it takes to keep these guys is what we're going to do. We're committed to the county, and we want to see the county grow. We own a lot of land outside of Opportunity Park, so it's not just about an industrial development. Couple other thoughts I had. We talked about, or Randy was asking, who can we bring in? I think the niche could be tying into Florida State. Maybe the person that we hire for an economic development coordinator would have strong ties to the university. You're 30 minutes away or so, and you can have that tech edge kind of person come from the college, build something down here that they're manufacturing, R&D, something like that, and bring the brain trust with them. You have a lot of natural resources here that's appealing to that type of person. I would rather live in Wakulla County than Leon County any day. It kind of brings back the example, if anyone's familiar, of Duval County where Jacksonville is, and then St. Johns County to the south. St. Johns County is growing leaps and bounds faster than Duval is now because they had better schools, a better quality of life, and eventually what happened is St. John's almost got further away from Duval because the traffic got so bad. So now the employers, if they want to attract those bedroom community people, they have to bring the jobs down to the bedroom community. And that's what's happening right now in that area. And they're growing like crazy.
You guys looked into the free trade zone at all?
I haven't done anything with the free trade zone. I have looked at the opportunity zones.
The free trade zone stems from the airport, and it would cover
Okay,
the area.
yeah. So, and I don't pretend to understand this equation all around. I've already been around for 2 years. I know that a lot of work has been done before I was here, and there were some mistakes made, and there were some positives, but, I'm working with John and his crew to try to get all the way up to speed.
Another question.
Yes, sir.
If the county decided to do to a consultant for economic development, is your offer still open?
Absolutely. Yeah, the only contingency is I would want you guys to fund it at a level that would be effective. I'm not hard stuck on 120,000 of total funding, but I think spending 40,000 or 50,000 on this is a waste of money. You have to go all in if you want to get the result.
Now, is your offer a 1 year 15,000, or is that until you're billed out?
Today, I'm allowed to say 15,000 now and 15,000 matching. If you guys come back to the table with like some numbers in your budget and say, hey, Rich, we want to do this for 3 years. Can you contribute X, Y, Z? I can get that stamped and approved. But I wanted to start the conversation. It has to start somewhere.
Do you see?
The best deal we can get, you know that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, my wife asked me, "What are you doing this morning?" I said, "I'm going out to this county. I'm going to give them money, and they're going to argue about it."
That's what we do.
Money with strings is not.
Yeah, well, no, that is true. The only thing I ask is that.
Is there a callback?
No. Let's talk about taxes. No, but what we really want to see happen is a full effort. I think if we give a 50% effort, we're going to get a 10% result. We've got to find a way to get to 100% effort. And then I think we'll have this meeting in a year and a half and say, guys, that was really worth it. We need to double down. So.
Do you see any barriers or any changes from a government standpoint that is keeping you from bringing clients in? Because it seems to me that when that was set up, that was a pretty sweet deal. It's pretty easy for anyone to get in the door.
Site plan approval is incredibly easy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the questions I have been asked by Duke is all that still in place? Is it all still valid? Is there, a termination time for that? So we need to revisit that. I don't think there's the obstacles we think there are. I mean, other places, when I talk to Duke, like they're going through this site promotion process, they say they have the land zoned and it's just land. It's not even raised up to the right level. We've done all the hard work. We've already spent those millions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
So let's just figure out a way to actually use it. It's wasted. So hopefully this will be the key to getting it done. And also, beyond just this, we've kind of reassigned David to cover this area. So we have someone on our team that's actively working on it as well. And that's something that we had neglected for a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
Can I go back to this $160,000 a year thing?
120.
120.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that because of the numbers based on the other counties that are involved in the whole economic process?
Yeah, I looked at from a financial perspective how much smaller counties were paying their folks, how much the next level job would be for someone who would come take our job, right? If you want to go and you work in Wakulla and be successful, what's the next job you want? It's not Wakulla Part 2. You want to go to Alachua next. And from Alachua, you want to get a piece of Orlando, maybe the number 2 in Orlando, then maybe move over to Memphis, right? Well, the person below us is paying 70 to 80, right? So we've got to kind of play 100 if we're going to be a player, right? And then you have your overhead costs of employment. So, I mean,
We're on a different pay scale apparently than you are.
well, here's the thing. You can, I understand that. And A, that's why I want to help. But B, you bring in the rock star person off the bat. You get this thing rolling. Maybe your next hire doesn't have to be quite as strong. Maybe your next hire could have been their number 2 that wants to roll into the job. But don't make a half effort. It's not going to work. We come strong and we hire the talent that, again, is only going to be here a year or two until they get a better job because they went into our county and brought in, 2 distribution centers and a financial company, and that's on their resume and they're gone. That's kind of how it worked in Alachua, right, David? Yeah, I mean, and, we've kind of, we're a little bit of a stepping stone, but that's a good place to be if they're bringing in the business.
And I've told everybody that'll listen to me, including John, that I'm not necessarily adverse to this, but there has to be a return on investment.
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to fund a position just to have a position to say we have somebody.
Yeah.
If they don't produce new business coming in on their own,
yeah.
Not Publix decided to come here and they take credit for it.
Yes.
They have to have recruited somebody, and I don't mind doing a trial for a little while.
Yeah.
But if they're not producing, the last thing I want is extra government.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I think the key here is from a private business person's perspective, the person we should hire should have already had some success on a smaller scale in a smaller area. We don't need to train a person. Chances are that person probably doesn't live here already, right? We gotta hire someone who's already had a track record of success, and that costs money. And the person we want to hire doesn't need to be at the end of their career either. They need to be someone that's going up. We got to give something back to them. What we can't give back to them right now is a ton of money or, oh, wow, I get to live in Las Vegas for a year, right? What we can give to them is an opportunity. Hey, you have this to sell. It's already built. It's already ready, and your commissioners are ready to help you do what you need to do. This is going to pad your resume.
Well, David's a pretty good negotiator.
I've heard that. I've been on the wrong side of that a couple times.
As much money, at least seed money, for lack of a better word, would help me out some. So
Yeah.
I'm sure we're not going to get into it right now. But
Yes.
Well, he says 15, he probably means 30, so that's okay.
Yeah, so I mean,
More than 50.
and I know these guys are just raising their hand wanting to go ahead and max out my match already, so.
Yeah, your match is not 15, yes, sir. We'll talk about that.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
We'll talk about that
Well, no,
If I could see where we're spending, because we're spending taxpayer money, and if it actually creates jobs, if it actually increases the tax base enough to cover part of that, or most of that cost, fine.
Absolutely, we should be able
But
to
not
back out the math and say, this is how much tax basis we need to cover this job, this is how many jobs it's worth. Put up or shut up,
Not
right?
everybody wants us to turn into an industrial facility.
I would like you to for just Opportunity Park, please. That would be. Yeah, no, I understand though. You have you have an environment here that's different than most, and I understand that.
Want to recruit a Toyota plant to put in Medart because it ruined Medart.
No.
And a lot of people live here because of what the community is, and don't want to. Everybody keeps saying growth. We need growth. We need growth. Well, we need enough growth to sustain it, but I don't know. Nobody here wants us to turn into a metropolis.
I agree. Embrace what you are. You have the advantage. People say you don't have the water, don't have the road. You have Tallahassee. You're a better place to live than Tallahassee. You're a better place to go to school than
If you were
Tallahassee.
in Tallahassee, you'd tell them that Tallahassee's a better place.
I wouldn't tell Tallahassee anything. No. But guys, I really appreciate you taking the time to hear the offer and to listen to what we had to say today, because I think this is the right move forward. Just please don't go halfway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. John, you have any more out?
No, just no really
Wrap it
closing
up.
comments or anything. I just agree with you completely, Randy. If we try this for a couple of years and it doesn't work, then we probably need to go in another direction. you know, but to not try, not put up that for sale sign, not try to market what we have and what we have in spades is, it hurts in, Opportunity Park, private individual. That's one thing, but we're also hurting the
And
county.
apparently there's a couple different ways to do this. It didn't have to be a county employee person, right?
There's several ways to skin every cat.
And we need to have definitive metrics to know what's
Exactly.
going on with this person, with the development.
Show me the results. If we're going to spend people's money, then we need to see the results.
Thank you all for giving us
Yes,
the time this evening.
Huh? Amy?
There's only one guarantee. You put 0 in, you get 0 back.
There's actually two more.
That is true.
Debt and tax.
We've already proved that point.
Guarantee on this deal, 0 in and 0 out.
Well, they say if you
Anybody
keep
else?
doing what you're doing, you keep getting what you got, right?
Yeah, hey, I got something, Chuck.
Really?
Well, I didn't hear all these comments going back.
Chris has got an opinion.
So, and it's a damn good one. So right now, I don't remember what year you graduated. I know it was before me, like while I was a Ralph. But when we graduated, we had Olin and we had Olin, right? Back then, that's what we called it. What if they walk away? We got a little more now, a little bit more, but we don't have a lot more. We need some insurance. We need some more opportunities for our kids. I'm not a real estate agent. I don't own land. I'm a government employee. I'm going to get paid either way. I come up here and volunteer on this to try to make this a better place for the next generation. We have got to get some economic development down here. We heard a good offer that came up as a good seed to get that going. We say bedroom community, yes, but if we define ourselves as that, we're always going to be that. We need to have a couple more opportunities for our kids out here. Randy, you said earlier that residential elevator was a good case study. Here's the truth of that case study. REI, when they got a new manager, looked at combining and going up to Georgia. A group of volunteers coming out of the chamber and the EDC met with them, partnered with them, and showed them Wakulla's not against them. That was the image they had. That transferred over into them wanting to try to expand out the Opportunity Park. That hit a ceiling that couldn't be broken through, but the fact of the matter is they never left. They stayed.
Can you tell me what the ceiling was?
The ceiling was that what John absolutely explained, is that when...
The amount of money they were going to have to spend
Okay.
to build an entirely new plant.
I got you.
To hold what both places
I got you.
require.
And
So-
both places were K-Row in here.
Yes. And it made sense that they were going to try to commingle, and there had been some challenges in the past, so, but now they're better. But that was done with all volunteers. John's old as heck. He's not going to be here. You keep hearing John's name. We need to be thinking, I keep talking about him, I'm not going to be living here either.
Retired 3 times.
We need to be thinking about the future. We need to be thinking 5, 10 years down the road, how we're going to be addressing this. I agree, Chuck, we need to have metrics. We do. We don't need to, and Randy, you're spot on. We don't need to just throw taxpayer dollars at anything, even if we do have a one-to-one partnership or whatnot. We do need to have the metrics, but we have to get past with just a bedroom community. We need to have some type of insurance for our kids and their kids that they can have jobs, because Olin will always be there, whatever the General Dynamics now. St. Mark's Powder. All those places, we just haven't seen many of them. We need to get that going. So thanks for the offer.
Not to be argumentative with you, Chris, because
However-
I'll never, there are plenty of jobs in Tallahassee, which is different about our community. So, I don't think bedroom community should be looked at as a negative thing. If I can drive less than 30 minutes and have a great job, a lot of people would kill for that. At least we're not driving from St. George Island or Chipley, you know what I mean?
No, I had to go away
We can leverage that bedroom
Yeah,
community.
exactly.
I had to go away to Orlando and Atlanta to work to go, and I understand that and the beauty of living here on that. But I'll give you a counter to your offer. It wasn't long ago we were sitting up here trying to sell a 1-cent sales tax for 20 more years.
Mm-hmm.
And we were saying what happens is people go to work in Tallahassee and they spend their money in Tallahassee, and we don't get the 1-cent sales tax here. This is a way to try to bypass that as well and let that money stay here. I agree, it's not bad. It's not like when I lived south of Atlanta driving in every day.
Yep.
But it could always be better. So thank you. Sorry about the comments there, gallbladder man.
And don't forget about the cursing.
Nice
You gotta
beard.
start to that.
Thank you. Trying to hide some chins.
One more thing, John, or whomever, before we leave. May I?
Sure.
Thank you. On the partnership and with other things, I'm sure that y'all have already been through this 1 gazillion times about what we all can do to make things different, better, all of that, correct?
Well-
So
Go ahead.
that's okay. No, you can answer me.
I didn't know if you're headed, we did wonder whether or not it was legal for money to come into, from a private concern
Structure the deal.
to the cab, but there is a way to do that.
We'll have to structure it.
And I know nothing. Oh, hey.
I'm gonna be very interested in that part of it.
Okay. Awesome.
We'll get past the attorneys and the financial people, we'll get a deal
Yeah.
struck.
Exactly.
We'll get a deal struck. They won't like it, but we'll get a deal struck.
And I think you answered this for me a week or two ago-ish, or maybe before skiing. How many other counties that are in the 10 rural counties have combined hats? Roy, do you know that answer?
With the public-private?
Yeah, with the public-private or with the county employee that wears 5 million
Oh.
hats.
Two
Two other
counties,
counties?
two counties have county employees.
Okay, and they're strictly the economic development person, that's all
No,
they do?
no,
No, okay.
no. That's, again, I lightly touched on that. That's what you get into when you have a county employee, is sometimes they get pulled off to do other things, and you have to just be very careful because you've got a partner now, and he's only your first partner. You
Well, I
start
think
getting,
what she's asking are there 5 counties out there?
Yes.
I think there's 5 counties that have county employees that run it, right, or 2?
no,
There's
Okay.
only
It's two.
2 counties
Okay.
out of
It's
the
two.
10.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but we're a little different, so don't
Yeah.
worry about that.
yeah.
So
And-
the five dedicated, those are not county employees? On your list here, you got 5 dedicated.
Those are the true dedicated economic developers that are not county employees.
Okay.
And then he has 2 county employees two counties.
Two
that
shared.
have- Exactly, and they wear multiple hats within those 2 counties.
That's right.
The ones that aren't county employees, where are they housed?
The ones that aren't county employees,
Yeah.
they're off-site. They
But I
can,
mean,
they can,
who's their boss? Where do they get their health insurance through?
Obamacare?
I mean, they don't work for an organization?
Well, example is they work for an EDC. The EDC pays them an annual salary. You would take money, NG Wade and other partners would put money into the EDC, and the EDC board, which you have basically a member on, each one of you would have a member on, determines what you're going to pay that person. You get input from your partners that tell you this is what we're going to look for. So they're not housed in a county place. So part of what your money goes for is to pay their rent, their office supplies, unless they get in-kind service. They get in-kind service, they may be housed at Career Source Capital Region up the street, who may trade their membership in the EDC and give them office space. There are things like that.
One of the things that we got to think about this is we have and folks don't know this, we got a bigger issue. We got to set the table, okay? We got to have somebody that bring in with talent to, the first year is going to be setting the table and getting our infrastructure and our basically our portfolio together. Because right now, we really don't have anything. And we don't even have GIS. So we got to have somebody that's going to sit here
We need a plan.
right beside but we got to develop, we got to be able to get there. Right now, we've got to have someone to sit beside our GIS person, and we got to be able to compare sites, but we got to get that information compiled, and we got a lot of work to do. So not only are we would be after a good EDC person, we will be trying to find the best GIS person, because in today's world, that's huge as well. And if we can get that person, then they work in concert with the EDC person, because there's going to be a lot of hands-on first to see what have we got, what's our inventory, what's my inventory, what does it look like, how do I know it? Then I can go out and pitch it, but I can't pitch my inventory until I know what I got.
Done some of that.
And when you talk about return on investment, nobody's going to argue that point. You want to see a return on investment. What your county administrator just pointed out, though, was there's a lot of groundwork to be laid. So if a year goes by and you're saying, wow, how many new employers did he bring in? 3. Well, what's he been doing? Well, look at all this groundwork
We
he's
gotta
laid.
start from the bottom.
You got to start. You've got so little now. You got to start somewhere and move forward. Jackson County did a 3-year commitment. Their commission did a 3-year commitment to that new economic development committee. They said you got 3 years. Now in the meantime, they're reporting back, but they understand that
Jackson County, I'm sorry, is that a county employee, or is that they contribute funding to the EDC?
they contribute funding to an
Both ways.
EDC. They
So
contribute.
that person doesn't, the EDC director does not work for the county at all?
He does not work for the
They have
county.
no charge over them, they're not subject to sunshine
No,
law?
they have 5 members on that EDC board because each commissioner got to appoint somebody. So they do have some control over them, and they can leverage that EDC. They can leverage that EDC. They have a marketing agreement that they signed that's good for 3 years. Of course, it has clawbacks in it. Good attorneys always put clawbacks in there that will hold true. So as the attorney will tell you also, a good agreement is each side has a way to get out of the agreement. So it's a fair agreement. So the committee could walk away, or the county commission could walk away from the agreement. But they realized doing a 3-year agreement, there was a lot of groundwork going to be laid.
Does our current EDC raise any money at all, John, on its own?
Do we?
Yes.
We did, well, some, yeah, not a huge amount.
Do you get like Duke Energy give you money, or Winn-Dixie, or any of that? Any corporate-
Yeah, we have a few corporate sponsors that are members that pay more, a little bit more. Our dues range from $75 a year to $250 a year. They used to be a lot higher, but we used to have a lot less members too, so we lowered the rent. So, and we do get a little bit of grant funding. Part of what Roy was just talking about, laying groundwork, and a lot of what we've done is maybe peripheral, but we already have a website which is linked into the Opportunity Florida website that already shows available sites here in the county. Jessica Smith, that just spoke with you a few minutes ago, she keeps it updated for us. So there are some things that we feel like that we're able to do, that we do try to do already. So
Do you envision the EDC being part of the match scenario?
well, that's something it's going on our agenda next time, and we're going to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And all that would depend on how things progresses, with what you guys decide you want to do. If it seems like it's getting us to where something that may actually work, then I'm going to be an advocate at our meetings to pony up a little bit of the money that we saved over the years to try and make that initial effort. It won't be what NG Wade does. We're not NG Wade.
Let me ask
But,
you quick, guys. If we get to a 3-year plan, I can go back and we can come up with a 3-year plan from NG Wade also. But I just wanted to let you guys know that we got to start somewhere. So if the 3-year plan is what we want to go with, let me know what it is and we'll get there.
David, we'll let you know.
David, it sounds like you're going to work with them to try to come up with something to come back to the board with. Is that right?
And I don't think we necessarily, remember we hired David from the lowly town of Choppy. He's turned out to be a pretty good county administrator.
When he's here.
nobody from Smith Creek, Randy.
The board at the time was saying we got to have somebody with a master's degree in urban and regional planning. We got it. If they don't have a college degree, we don't even want to talk to them. And so we need to keep our minds open on what kind of
Yeah.
person. Doesn't necessarily need to be somebody on the corporate way up or whatever.
Yeah.
We may be able to find somebody that would want to continue.
Keeping your mind open is
Won't stress
good.
overreaching year one. You want to have an overperformer at least to start.
Well, we got a lot of groundwork to develop the matrix and the program, et cetera. And then also, the big thing is we're early in our budget process, and we got to make sure that we can even hold up our end of the bargain. So, and see where that is. And we're still progressing through that. We've yet to get the sheriff's department's request and the property appraiser's request. So that could be, that's always interesting when that happens.
Did that get your question?
It did answer my question. I have a million more, but I'll.
Again, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody
Well,
on
just
board?
thank you to NG Way
Yes,
for
yes.
ponying up the offer there for sure. And I think we all agree that we want something to happen. We don't, that's a great place for the deer and turkey to hang out, but that doesn't help any of us.
That's right, that's
We
right.
don't have a print and press for money either, so we
Yeah.
only have a certain amount to work with.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. We're adjourned.
See you at 5.
We had some Starburst over here for everybody, but Heather ate them off.
Good God, I should have gave you Quincy's.
I couldn't even see her computer. It was full of wrappers.
Starving.